Hi, I'm Adam Morris from Clarion Call Ministries. I wanted to do a series of videos about how you can find your calling, figure out what it is, and walk it out well in the earth. This is something that we get tons of questions about when we go do ministry here in the States or overseas. And so we wanted to be able to do a series where we can kind of put down some main points of advice that we like to give out, and hopefully it'll be an encouragement to you. So first off, as a believer, I want to encourage you that you are going to die one day. Yes. So unless Jesus comes back in your lifetime, you have one life to live. I want to encourage you that you need to use it well. If you've got one shot at this, you want to use it to the fullest. And so some people sit back and they think, man, I don't need to know God's purpose, or I'm just kind of floating along in the ether. I want to encourage you that you are called to more than that. You are called to more than just a 9-to-5, sitting back, having no direction in life. The enemy very often tries to put training wheels on believers so that they become very comfortable and they are stuck at a certain speed in a certain lane. I want to encourage you that the Lord has called us as sons and daughters to advance His kingdom in the earth. And part of that understanding is beginning with the idea that you do have a purpose, that you have one life to live, and you want to live it to your fullest. Very often when we talk about callings, people want to jump to their job descriptions, the details of their giftings, or how they're going to serve in this way or that. Let's take a step back from that for just a second. I want to encourage you first off that God has a purpose in the earth. He has an advancing kingdom in the earth. He has a purpose, and because you are His, you have a purpose. If you jump into the details, jump way ahead into what you're called to do exactly to the T or whatever, and you don't have this settled in your heart as a foundational point, what can happen is you can end up lacking peace later, and you'll constantly question, am I really doing what I'm supposed to be doing? What you want to do is step back at the beginning, and whether you are already walking in your calling or not, set in your heart the idea that first, God has a purpose, and I am His, so I have a purpose. If you could do that, it puts you on a good foundation to be able to figure out the details of your calling later on. God has a purpose, and so therefore you do as well. Many believers can deal with an orphan spirit, an orphan way of thinking. And what I mean by that is they don't know who they are as sons and daughters, and they don't know whose they are. They don't know that they belong to the Heavenly Father. And so what happens is very often when we talk about callings and giftings and all this stuff, people can go to two extremes, one of two extremes. One extreme over here would be working and serving in every capacity and ending up burning out for the Lord, thinking that you're working to make Him happy on one side. And the other side is the idea that God is so neglectful that He doesn't have a purpose for your life, or that even if He does, you can't know it, that He's this distant sort of trickster that's always keeping things just out of reach. I want to encourage you that, when we read Romans 12 in particular, we talk about the renewing of the mind that Paul writes about there. But the renewing of the mind is part of the everyday believer's life so that we can know the good, pleasing, and perfect will of God. So not only is God saying in that you do have a purpose, but that you can know what it is. God is not a distant God who doesn't care about your life. He's close, and He has a purpose, and He's also not a trickster. He's a good Father who gives good gifts to His children, including your calling. So be encouraged today that God has a purpose in the earth, that you have one, and that you can know what that is.